Not hearing you, Suzanne.
Apologies, my mic wasn't down there. I can confirm the live streaming has begun.
Okay, thank you. So welcome everybody to this meeting of the Aberdeenshire Licensing Board. Please note that the board meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. Can members please activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video, and can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking? And please do not come in during items unless I invite you to do so. Can I first of all confirm that all members have been able to access the papers for today's meeting in advance?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And if members wish to speak at any point, please raise your hand in the Teams function, or if you've dialed into the meeting, you can raise your hand by pressing *5. If members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the Deputy Clerk by separate Teams message if possible, and support will be available today from Kathleen Mysick. She's the ICT officer and she's on 01467 536 227. So we have had a few issues this morning, so hopefully we won't need to contact Kathleen during the meeting. Obviously, it could be quite a long meeting today, so we will take comfort breaks as and when required, and a break for lunch at an appropriate time. Can I go now to the Deputy Clerk, please, to take the sederant?
Thank you, Convener. Members, please confirm you're present when your name is read out. Stuart Adams.
Present.
Miss Dawn Black.
Present.
Jeff Crowson.
Present.
Marion Ewanson.
Present.
Jeff Goodhall.
Present.
Trevor Mason.
Present.
Richard Menard.
Present.
Mrs. Jenny Nichol.
Present.
Miss Mel Sullivan.
Here, and you don't need them, Ms. Thank you.
And Ian Taylor.
Good morning. Present.
Officers also in attendance to support the meeting today. Convener are Sergeant Neil Grant, Keith Simpson LSO, Lisa Godini LSO, Kevin MacDonald LSO and Sarah Ward LSO, myself as Deputy Clerk, Morag Stevenson, Senior Solicitor, Beatrice Hay as Administrator, Harriet Tivendale as Paralegal. We're supported by our new trainee, Mike Saint, who will be shadowing today. Officer in charge of the live stream today is Jenny Mearns, and we also have several members of the public attending this morning. They're currently muted by Harriet Tivendale, and she will confirm their attendance at the start of each of the meetings. Finally, we also have Archie McKeever and Neil Fraser attending as agents representing their respective clients, and David Scott observing in respect of his client's non-contentious application. The officer in charge of the recording today is Harriet Tivendale.
Okay, thank you. Move on now to declaration of members' interests. Members, if you have an interest to declare, please state the interest and clarify by giving the item number, the nature of the declaration, and whether or not you will leave the meeting. I don't see any indications. Move on to item 2, which is the equalities resolution. So in making decisions on the attached reports, members are reminded of their legal duty under section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation, advance equality of opportunity between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it, and foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. Do members agree?
Agree.
Agreed.
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 Thank you. We then come to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 21st of August. Are we agreed that this is a true record of the meeting and the minute can be approved?
Agree.
Agreed.
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 Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the first item of business today is item 4, which are applications for premises or provisional premises licenses, which are non-contentious. And the officer taking the report is Suzanne Buchan, but I think Harriet Tiebendale has the information to take us through. There are 4 applications, so I shall pass over, I think, to Harriet, is it?
Yes,
Yes,
that would be
Yeah.
correct, Chair.
Okay.
The first application is for a full premises licence for the Burvey Paper Shop in Inverburvey. This is a commercial property with retail units and living accommodation situated above. The premises benefits from convenient street parking at the front and also additional parking at the back of the property. The premises operates as a modern convenience store offering an extensive range of grocery items such as fresh foods, newspapers and general merchandise. It also provides other services such as food to go and a home delivery service. Alcohol will be sold for consumption off the premises only, and recorded music is also played within the premises as background music. There was only one representation received from our LSO for standard local conditions to be applied, which have all been agreed by the applicant, and we'd be looking to grant in full. I think you're on mute, Chair.
Sorry, I should just keep it on. Just asking members, do they have any questions? So in terms of the recommendation, 1.2, do the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
And in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Grant.
Okay.
Grant.
So that first one then for the Burvey Paper Shop is granted. So we move on now to number 2.
Thank you, Chair. This is for a provisional application for the Premier Store in Kemney. This commercial property is a stand-alone retail unit situated in the heart of Kemney. It also benefits from street parking in front of the premises. The premises operates as a modern convenience store offering an extensive range of grocery items, fresh foods, newspapers, etc. It also provides food to go and a home delivery service. Alcohol will be sold for consumption off the premises only, and other activities are included are recorded music as background music. Again, the only representation was from our LSO for standard local conditions to be applied, which have all been agreed by the applicant, and we'd be looking to grant this application in full.
Okay, again, members, do you wish to discuss the application or have you any questions? No. So in that case, in terms of the recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
And in terms of the recommendation 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Grant.
Okay, thank you. So that one is granted as well for the Premier in Kemney. So move on now, please, to number 3, the Cask and Key Whisky.
Thank you, Chair. This is a premises that are a specialist spirit retailer selling high-end spirits on site and by internet. They also offer delivery which will take place locally by staff or courier, and also further afield by courier. The premises also offer paid for tastings and many related events that will take place on the premises. This is only for small groups of up to 12 persons. The premises are situated in a mixed use, generally commercial area of Peterhead with commercial buildings with many domestic premises above. Alcohol will be sold for consumption both on and off the premises, and seasonal variations per our licensing policy have not been applied for. Other activities in addition to the supply of alcohol include receptions. This could be weddings, funerals, birthdays, etc., club or other group meetings, recorded music, live performances and films. The premises will also offer charity events, adult birthday parties, party events and Peterhead history events. The premises will play soft background music, which will be fishing themed or Scottish themed. The premises aims to provide a high variety of high-end local and Scottish alcoholic drinks and mixers, and the main thrust of the shop is to offer rare spirits to a connoisseur market to promote local Scottish produce. Occasionally, films may be shown to demonstrate the production process, but the premises will not become a cinema. Live performances will solely comprise of guided tastings, and again, these are only up to 12 persons. And like I said earlier, there are deliveries offered at the premises, and Challenge 25 will be obtained at each point of the sales. Children and young persons will not be allowed in the premises when an on-sales event is taking place. There was representation received from our LSO. They requested that the operating plan was slightly amended to clarify the operating hours, and this has been provided by the applicant and confirmed by the LSO. They also asked for standard local conditions to be applied and the additional condition to ensure that no children and young persons are permitted in the premises when an on-sales event is taking place, as per the application. Our Environmental Health Department also took the opportunity to ask that local condition 5 was applied to the licence. This has all been agreed by the applicant, and we'd be looking to grant this in full.
Okay, thank you. So again, over to members. Any questions or comments? No. So in terms of recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow determination to be made?
Yes.
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 And then in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
Grant.
Okay, so that one is also granted. Moving on to the fourth one today, which is the Hidden Scotland shop.
Thank you, Chair. The premises is a Scottish-themed gift shop and retail space located within Bankery. The shop features a diverse selection of handcrafted items across Scotland. This provides visitors with an opportunity to explore a wide range of Scottish crafts and products on sale. The premises' goal is to create a vibrant community hub that brings together the best of Scottish culture. Alcohol will be sold for consumption off the premises only, and there will be the additional activity of recorded music. Alcohol can be bought in person via online or by telephone. And again, deliveries will be offered from the premises. Seasonal variations, the premises will be closed on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and they are closed every Monday throughout the year. The standard operating hours are from Tuesday to Sunday, 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. There was representation received from our LSO. They asked for clarification on the operating plan in relation to off-sale hours and to confirm whether recorded music was to be played out with core licence hours. An amended operating plan was submitted by the applicant and confirmed by the LSO. The LSO also recommended that standard local conditions were applied, and I will just highlight to members that local condition 6, which relates to our Lockfast store, is to be applied to this premises, even though currently all alcohol is displayed on the shop floor. However, if that were to change, then we would need a minor variation submitted to ensure that a Lockfast store is on the premises. Our Building Standards department also took the opportunity to clarify the height of the display area, but the agent had confirmed that the shelves would not be packed to full height, and they were happy to remove their representation. Therefore, we would be looking to grant this provisional application in full with the standard local conditions applied.
Okay, thank you. So, do members have any questions, comments? In that case, in terms of recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
Grant.
Okay, so that one is granted. So that concludes the minor variations. So we now move on to the major variation of premises licence, non-contentious. And we have two. It's Harriet again. First one is at Morrison's Daily.
Thank you, Chair. I will just confirm that the last item was for new or provisional
Yes.
application, not
Yeah.
minor, just to clarify that. Are you happy for me to start
Yes,
with the
just
major?
continue.
Thank you. So the first one is for Morrison's Daily within Portlethen. This is an application to amend the operating plan to remove accommodation as an activity, update the activities to include a home delivery service, update the layout plan to reflect a refurbishment at the premises, which includes a post office counter, a reduction in the capacity of the alcohol section, and to amend the current description of the premises. There was representation received from both Police Scotland and our LSO. Police Scotland asked for an age verification system to be in place, and our LSO asked for standard local conditions to be applied. This has been all accepted by the applicant, and we'd be looking to grant this in full.
Okay. Any questions or comments, members? No. So again, it's in terms of the recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And then in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
Grant.
Granted. Okay, so that application is also granted. The second one is the Stag and Thistle Hotel and Restaurant in Fraserburgh.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application to increase the off-sale hours to 10 AM daily. They are also updating Section 5 of the operating plan to state that off-sales will commence at 10 to permit residents to purchase alcohol on leaving the premises at checkout. They were also updating the layout plan to reflect changes of the original public areas and to add in an additional drinking and dining areas to the premises. They're also increasing the capacity of the selected areas of the premises licence. There was representation received from our LSO that asked for minor changes to the operating plan, application form and layout plan. This was submitted by the applicant and confirmed by the LSO. Standard local conditions were also recommended that have been agreed, and our Environmental Health Department also asked for local condition 5 to be applied. This has all been agreed by the applicant and we're looking to grant in full.
Okay. Members, any questions or comments? No. So it's in terms of the recommendation at 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow determination to be made?
Yes.
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 And in that case, in terms of recommendation 1.2b, should we agree to grant or refuse this application?
Grant.
Grant. Okay, so that one is granted also. That takes us on to our first hearing of the day at item 6. Application for a review of a premises licence, and it's for Bar 57 and the Cali Bar at 4 Chapel Street, Peterhead. So the officer taking us through this report is Suzanne. Do you want to introduce the report first, Suzanne?
Certainly, I'll just ask Harriet just to confirm the agent is still present.
Thank
I
you.
am. Your honors, yes.
We have Archie McIver present, who is the agent. We also have Carl Hansen as the applicant and Sergeant Neil Grant from Police Scotland. And we should also have Kevin MacDonald, Licensing Standards Officer.
Thank you, Harriet. So this report is before you today following a request from Police Scotland for a review of the premises licence. Police Scotland's representation can be found at Appendix 1 of the papers, starting on page 71, and the representation from the Licensing Standards Officer contained within Appendix 3, starting at page 108. Firstly, the board required to consider the materials and determine if there's sufficient evidence before you to allow you to enable a determination to be made. Thereafter, and very importantly, you then require to consider if any of the grounds for review have been established, and that is either one or more of the conditions of the premises licence have been breached, and or failure to comply with other grounds relative to one or more of the licensing objectives. Where any of the grounds for review have been established, you then require to determine what action, if any, you wish to take. Finally, we'd ask the board to determine whether they wish to hold a hearing in terms of Section 84 of the Act in respect of any personal licence holder, working at the premises. The procedure today we'll hear from Sergeant Neil Grant, the complainant, to speak to his request for the review of the licence. Then we'll hear from the Licence and Standards Officer. Then we'll ask the agent for the licence holder to respond to the complaint and any representations that have been made. We then give the complainer, Police Scotland, the opportunity to address any issue raised by the licence holder, and questions can then be asked of all parties. The convener will then ask for concluding remarks in reverse order, starting with the licence holder, then the LSO, and then the complainer. Members will then deliberate and ask for legal advice if required, and if you do require to deliberate, you can do so in private. However, no decision can be made during the deliberation. When you return, you may confirm if you've had sufficient information to proceed, and we'll move towards any motions or amendments before a vote and confirmation of the position of the board.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. So, for those of you joining the meeting, please note that the board meeting will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. There's the usual information which I think you've had about, in line with the guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings. Please can you mute your microphone when not speaking? If your phone permits this, please do not speak unless you're invited to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers or you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. And once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. And I think you heard Suzanne say as well, if the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. And you should then just wait in the main meeting until the board members return and I can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording will be restarted. So can I just confirm for the record then that Kevin MacDonald, the Licensing Standards Officer, is present?
Yes, I'm present.
And are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Can I confirm that Sergeant Neil Grant, on behalf of Police Scotland, is present?
Yes, I'm present.
Are you satisfied that you've received all of the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And can I confirm that Mr. Carl Hansen is present, or Archie McKeever is present as his representative?
Yes, good morning, Your Honours. I'm present.
And I'm present as well.
Okay, thank you. And are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to go to Sergeant Neil Grant to speak to the review application, please. Sergeant Grant?
Sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. Also, I've got the main body of the letter to go through and 3 additional emails that have been disclosed already. I also have an update on an ongoing investigation that's mentioned in the main body of the letter. It's not been disclosed to anybody as yet, but just seeking your permission to provide that information. I think it's relevant to the review or request for the review. Just great to hear from you.
Okay, members, do we agree to hear the additional information?
Yes.
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 Suzanne, does that need to be circulated by email for members to read?
Do you have it? Does Sergeant Grant have that for email for circulating? And I also wonder if we just want to confirm with the agent that he's also happy for that.
I suppose the issue is I don't know what the additional information is going to be. I've certainly not seen it. If it's in relation to the incident on the 3rd of June from memory, and if the update is relating to action which was taken last week in relation to that, then I am aware of it. I see Sergeant Grant nodding, so I think we're on the same page. If I could make, I don't have a problem with that coming forward. But if the information coming forward is what I expect it to be, then that would bring that particular incident into the category of being sub judice, and in my submission should not be referred to during the course of this hearing.
Certainly, what I would say is I'm not disclosing any details of the case. It would just be procedural matters that I would be disclosing, that's all.
To that extent, I don't have a problem with that, Your Honours, but I may have comments to make about the sub judice aspect of matters when we get to that stage.
Okay, I think members will be aware of that, so they'll know the amount of information that they can request. Okay, so are you able to circulate that by email, Sergeant Grant? Can you send it to Suzanne or Harriet? Harriet, do you want to come in? I see your hand up.
I would just say if Sergeant Neil Grant could email that to myself, and I shall certainly circulate it to the members just now.
Okay.
Right. Bear with me.
So members, when that comes round, I think we will have a short pause to allow you time to read the information.
That's the email sent now. It's very brief.
Okay.
That's it, just come through. I will just send that over just now. There might just be a small break for me to be able to get everyone's email in one email.
So just for anyone listening into the live stream, we're just pausing while information is circulated by email to the members.
That should be it sent through. It might just have a slight delay.
What I will say as well, that given what I've now disclosed, there's a section of the letter that could fall under sub judice, so I will minimise that as best I can when I'm speaking to you at that point. The information's already disclosed, but I won't put it onto the recording.
Just to be clear, Mr. McKeever, I'm just sending you a separate email just now. It should be on its way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so members, I think you all have seen that short email that's circulated. So we're happy to continue.
No, it hasn't come through to me yet.
All right, well, we'll just hold on.
Was that Mr. Crowson?
Yeah.
Slug. That's
So if
just
any-
arrived just now.
Oh, you've got it now? Good.
Just opening it up. And,
Yeah. So if any of the other members haven't received the email, could you raise your hand, please? Mr. Menard?
I've got the email, but I've got no PDF opener or anything at all. So I
It's
don't know.
the information's just in the email.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've got it now. Thank you.
Okay, members, we're happy to proceed. Go back to Sergeant Grant.
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Good morning. I'm addressing the board today in relation to Bar 57 and the Cali Bar of Chapel Street, Peterhead, Aberdeenshire. In terms of section 36(1) of the Licensing Scotland Act 2005, I hereby make an application to Aberdeenshire Licensing Board for a review of the premises of licence in respect of the premises known as Bar 7 and Cali Bar, Peterhead. This application for review is made in terms of section 36(3)(b) on grounds relevant to one or more licensing objectives as articulated at section 4(1) of the Act, namely preventing crime and disorder, securing public safety, preventing public nuisance, protecting and improving public health. In support of this application and in terms of section 36(5)(a), the following information is provided for your consideration. The premises is a hybrid venue, with the Cali Bar being a public house, with on sales between 0900 and 0100 hours daily and off sales between 1000 hours and 2200 hours daily. Bar 57 is a late night premises with on sales between 1900 and 0200 hours, Sunday to Thursday, and 1900 to 0300 hours, Friday and Saturday. The premises are situated in a mixed retail commercial area of Peterhead within the town centre. At the time of writing, since October 2023, there had been 10 recorded incidents, with the additional 3 emails that would be up to 13, involving violence and disorder at the premises, with 3 resulting in serious injury. During investigations by police, poor management, intoxication and failure to notify police of incidents has been noted. In October 2023, the Police Scotland licensing team carried out an intervention with Carol and Robin Hansen, co-owners of the premises, in relation to 2 violent incidents which occurred in one weekend. At this time, recommendations were agreed and complied with by the venue. After this intervention, there was a noted improvement at the premises, with a reduction in serious incidents being recorded. However, in recent months, there has been an increase in violent incidents, including a victim who has sustained a serious neck injury, having been struck by a broken glass. The following is a list of incidents at the premises which have raised concern over safety and management. At 0120 hours on Friday the 20th of October 2023, a member of the public contacted Police Scotland to report that he had been assaulted within Bar 57 and had sustained a broken leg. He advised the control room that the male responsible was still within the bar. Officers attended and traced the injured male sitting on the ground at the front of the premises, highly intoxicated. Bar staff were advised that they believed the male had fallen and had stated they were unaware of any disturbance within the premises. They further advised that no person within matched the description of the person responsible. The victim advised that he had been within the toilet when he had been kicked to the leg and then punched once to the face. Officers checked the venue with no trace of the person responsible. It was later established that at the time of the assault, the perpetrator had spoken to bar staff and admitted to punching the victim in the toilet. This male was still in the bar when officers attended, and the information was not disclosed to them, hindering the investigation and potentially putting others at risk. Officers requested to view the CCTV. However, none of the available staff were trained on how to use the system, which also prevented accurate descriptions of the suspect being provided. Staff failed to report the incident to police and further failed in their duty of care toward the victim. This incident, in part, led to an intervention. At 23:10 hours on Saturday the 21st of October 2023, Officers were on patrol when they were flagged down by security staff at Bar 57. They pointed to a male on the pavement who was lying in pain with an apparent leg injury. Members of staff explained that the male had been removed from the premises due to his intoxication and inappropriate behaviour towards females. It was reported that on leaving the bar, the heavily intoxicated male had fell over in the street, injuring his leg and refusing any help. Police carried out first aid on the clearly fractured ankle, which was bleeding heavily. An ambulance was requested. A review of the CCTV showed that the male had struggled with security and that he had been flipped to the ground before being physically removed from the premises. At no point was he seen falling. Given the balance of probability, it is likely the male suffered the injury whilst being removed by the security staff, and there are concerns regarding their integrity, as at no point was this interaction mentioned. The circumstances were later reported to the Security Industry Authority. At 02:30 hours on Saturday the 21st of October 2023, Police Scotland were requested by staff to attend at the premises regarding a disturbance. Police attended and viewed 3 males arguing, with one male in particular shouting and swearing at various members of the public. The male refused to desist and he was issued with a fixed penalty notice for his behaviour. At 00:05 hours on Friday the 15th of December 2023, a male was asked to leave the premises due to being highly intoxicated. He was escorted out to the front of the premises where he punched a member of the public before making off. The victim followed him and phoned the police. The premises did not highlight the matter to Police Scotland. The perpetrator was issued with a recorded police warning. About 00:30 hours on Saturday the 23rd of December 2023, a male was within Bar 57 when another male approached and verbally abused him before punching and dragging him by the hair. Door staff intervened, pulling the perpetrator from the victim and ejecting them both from the premises. The complainer reported the matter to Police Scotland the following day. The premises did not contact Police Scotland regarding this incident. At 0100 hours on Saturday the 16th of March 2024, a group of patrons were within the smoking area at Bar 57 when they became aware of a group of males who appeared to be very intoxicated and were barging into people on purpose. At this time, the victim had his back to the group of males and felt someone grab his hair, pulling them to the floor. Whilst on the floor, they were struck to the back of the head. Other patrons attempted to intervene, which resulted in a fight between various persons. Security staff intervened and removed those involved in the fight. The victim contacted police and officers attended. Bar staff assisted with the investigation and a recorded police warning was issued to the perpetrator. At 0058 hours on Monday the 20th of May 2024, Police Scotland received a report of an ongoing fight at the premises whereby a male had been struck to the throat with a glass. Officer attended immediately and found one male with cuts to his neck, which was bleeding heavily. The person responsible had left prior to the police arrival. An ambulance was requested and they conveyed the victim to Peterhead Hospital for treatment. The cuts on the male's neck are likely to leave a permanent scar. Bar staff were attentive throughout and assisted police where possible. The owner, Carl Hansen, attended and assisted by providing CCTV to the officers. At 0001 hours on Sunday the 2nd of June 2024, a member of the public was within Bar 57 when a male approached him. The perpetrator was described as extremely intoxicated and possibly under the influence of drugs. He pushed the victim, who walked to the smoking area to remove himself from the situation. Between 0030 hours and 0100 hours, same date, the victim approached the perpetrator, who then punched him in the face. Another male intervened and was also punched by the perpetrator. Security staff and other persons within the premises intervened and the perpetrator was removed from the premises. One male sustained a split lip and damaged teeth, which will require orthodontic work. The matter was reported to the police by the victim and not the premises. About 0140 hours on Sunday the 2nd of June 2024, whilst within Bar 57, a male saw his partner hug another male. He attempted to punch this male and whilst doing so also struck his partner. The perpetrator then left the premises and the incident was not witnessed by staff. At 0200 hours same day, officers were approached by the male victim who advised them of the circumstances. The perpetrator, who was nearby, was apprehended and reported. About 0145 hours on Sunday the 2nd of June 2024, an unidentified male headbutted a second male after allegations that he had touched a female inappropriately. This was within the premises. The second male was escorted out of Bar 57 by security staff. Officers were flagged down by the Bar 57 manager, Robin Hansen, who informed them of the incident. The victim appeared to have a broken nose with blood present around his face, however declined medical treatment or to provide a statement. The female whom he alleged touched was not traced. At 0155 hours on Monday the 2nd of June 2024, officers attended a reported lock-in at officers attended a reported lock-in at the Cali Bar, which is licensed until 0100 hours. This matter is now sub judice as Mr. Hansen has been charged with various offences. So I'll just move on from that just now. I'll now go on to the 3 additional incidents that are on the email. 0001 hours on Thursday the 18th of July, officers attended at the premises, having received a report of an assault. On their arrival, they were apprised by the female victim that she had been pushed in the toilets. The female was clearly drunk. Staff believed that she was the only person within the toilets and that she had probably slipped. Officers requested to view CCTV footage. However, the premises was in the process of renewing their CCTV system, and as such, there was no footage available. Again, about 0223 hours on Saturday the 10th of August 2024, police received a call from door stewards at the premises requesting assistance with a male who was being aggressive and refusing to leave. Detaining officers found the perpetrator with door stewards and he was still refusing to leave. Door stewards advised that the perpetrator had been acting aggressively with patrons in the rear garden smoking area. He was subsequently arrested and taken into custody, where he was found to be in possession of controlled drugs. 0223 hours on mentioned that already. Just double check. Yeah. In addition to these incidents, we obviously are making inquiries into an ongoing incident, and as a result of that, we viewed the CCTV for that, and that on Monday the 3rd of June 2024, this isn't subject of any ongoing case submitted to the Procurator Fiscal, CCTV inquiries by police found that at 0850 hours that day, a male was seen to enter the bar and is given what appeared to be a bottle of beer from the fridge by a member of staff. He does not pay for this at the time, and the till is not switched on at that time. At 0845 hours, the female staff member enters the bar and sits talking to 2 males within the premises. Whilst one of them drinks his bottle of beer, the staff member is also seen to turn on the electric till, and thereafter at 0858 hours, the front door is opened. An elderly male is seen to enter and served a pint of lager, for which he's seen to pay for. And then at 0905 hours, the male who had been given the bottle of beer earlier on places the bottle on the bar and thereafter appears to pay for his drink before leaving. And again, this is under investigation at the moment, but is not subject to any report to the Procurator Fiscal. So just like to say, despite interventions from Police Scotland and Aberdeenshire Council licensing standards officers, there continues to be regular instances of violence which put patrons and staff at risk. Additionally, there is evidence of poor management in relation to levels of intoxication of patrons, contrary to what would be expected from a competent vulnerability policy. Alcohol-fueled violence and disorder continues to be a problem in Peterhead, particularly in the late evening and early hours, in respect of many assaults that have taken place within the town. The perpetrator, victim or both have been under the influence of alcohol, which was consumed within the licensed premises. Recorded crime figures demonstrate that the longer and later licensed premises are open, the higher the likelihood of crimes of violence occurring. In respect of this request, Police Scotland would encourage the board to consider imposing an earlier closing time of 0100 hours on every day of the week, and we'd also like the board to consider the imposing of alternatives to glass, in particular plastic receptacles. Just like to add as well that I'm not in the business of closing down premises. We have had various interventions with this premises, and the owners have been receptive to that and have listened to us and taken action before. The list of incidents that we have, there is a mix of standards that from the response of the bar staff. There's been times when there's been no reports at all and dismissive, all the way to being really, really helpful and doing what they can to assist police. So there's, I think it's maybe training issues, attitude issues that could be addressed. As I say, I'm not looking to have the place closed down, but I think measures should be taken now in respect to the premises to ensure that these licensing objectives I mentioned at the start are met, in particular safety of the public and staff members. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant Grant. I'll go straight to the LSO, Kevin MacDonald, now to speak to the review.
Good morning to the board and visitors. Firstly, I'll not go over the legislation in regard to bringing the review and why the report has been requested. That's already been covered by Sergeant Grant. Thank you. I'll give you a background to the premises. Licence was initially granted on the 29th of July 2009 to a company where Mr. Carl Hansen was the designated premises manager. In March 2017, the licence was transferred to Clara House PhD Limited. The current licence holder remains as Clara House, with Mr. Hansen being the sole director. Major variation application was granted in April 2020 to amend trading hours to both the Cali Bar and Bar 57. It also permitted other activities to take place that are not relevant at this time. The description of the premises licence is that the premises are situated in a mixed retail commercial area of Peterhead within the town centre and comprise of a public bar, the Cali and the Cube, which is now Bar 57, a multi-use daytime space and nightclub. There have been no previous licence review applications submitted in respect to this premises, and given the length of time that the premises has held a licence under the control and supervision of Mr. Hansen, there have been numerous records relating to visits, inspections and minor variations, none of which cause any significant concern or provide any positive or negative feedback historically. Directly in relation to the information provided by Sergeant Grant on behalf of Police Scotland, I can provide that on the 4th of October 2022, I carried out a full inspection of the licensing documentation, staff training, and ensured that the premises had suitable drugs policy and a vulnerability policy in place. Following the incidents reported by the police, I carried out this inspection whilst accompanied by PC Cook, formerly the police licensing team, and all documentation was in order at this time. Since then, I've attended a further 3 times, the 27th of April 2023, the 25th of October 2023, and the 29th of November 2023, following the listed incidents where Police Scotland have requested that a joint approach would be appropriate. Each of these visits was with the designated premises manager, Mr. Hanson, and on one occasion, PC Forbes from the licensing team provided Mr. Hanson with a report requesting cooperation and providing guidance to improve the outcome of such incidents and attempt to prevent further incidents. The police have repeatedly provided recommendations to reduce the risk of further incidents, and where Mrs. Hanson has been present, she's pushed back against these recommendations and cited lack of police attendance. However, it's been made clear that behaviour and conduct within the premises is the licence holder's responsibility. Whilst each of the 10 recorded incidents listed in the police report are of a criminal nature, which do not come under the remit of the Licensing Standards Officer, I've highlighted that as the licence holder, it is his responsibility to manage his premises in order that it complies with the licensing objectives. Each of these incidents directly relate to the board's policies, the board's objectives in regard to preventing crime and disorder, securing public safety, preventing public nuisance, and protecting and improving public health. Aware of the update by Sergeant Grant in respect of the reported incidents, which may be under consideration sub judice, I believe some of the information I can't consider further. However, in respect of the new information provided by Sergeant Grant for the 3rd of June, provision of alcohol before opening time, Section 63(1) of the Licensing Scotland Act provides that it's an offence out with licensed hours for the person to sell alcohol or allows alcohol to be sold on a licensed premises or allows alcohol to be consumed on a licensed premises. This legislation makes no exemption. To conclude, given the information provided by Sergeant Grant on behalf of Police Scotland, including the most recent update, directly relates to the lawful management of the premises. This is indicative of the management of these premises at this time, and the premises, in my opinion, has fallen below those that would be reasonably expected under the board's licensing objectives. Because of this, I'm left with no alternative but to fully support the application provided by Police Scotland in terms of Section 36(3)(b) in requesting a review and consideration by the board to reduce the operating hours for Bar 57, and particularly with the new information at least until the conclusion of any criminal proceedings, and where the outstanding proceedings can be reviewed when not subject to sub judice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So I can go now to Sergeant Grant. If you've got anything you wish to add, having heard the submissions. Oh, sorry, no, I've jumped on here. I'm going first of all to Mr. McKeever to respond to the allegations set out in the review application. Apologies, Mr. McKeever.
Not a problem at all, Your Honour, thank you. Yes, the wee bit of background first of all, then I'll come on and deal with the specific incidents, allegations, call them what you will, contained within the police letter, if I may. The premises have been in the control of the Hansons actually since about 2002 when they acquired them. At that time, as I understand it, it was more of a hotel type operation. I think it's fair to say that the premises operating under a licence at that time had something of a local reputation, if you will. The Hansons came in, developed the premises, and over the years have spent a considerable amount of money in upgrading them, extending them, improving them. And as recently as about 2018, as I understand it, they spent a further £250,000 to refurbish the premises. They having no sooner reopened, having had the premises closed for about a year, as I understand it, lockdown came along, and again they were closed again. So it wasn't exactly the best of timing. In terms of the nature of the operation, the type of music that they play in the premises is general commercial pop type music. It's not the rave type, techno beat types of music, which sometimes attract a very different type of following. It's what might be termed as happy music as is played, and generally speaking, that reflects in the behaviour of the patrons in the premises. During the period narrated by Police Scotland in their letter, it's estimated that some 55,000 persons have entered these premises. It's a popular premises. It's a premises that attracts a faithful, regular clientele. And the fact of the matter is more than half, considerably more than half of its turnover is basically earned during the post 1 AM period. It's busy and popular, as I say. There is, as I think, one other set of premises in the town which operates a late night offer at the weekend, but they have a different type of music policy. So really, they have brought it from a checkered history to a very popular, well laid out, attractive set of premises. Now, I will have to go through the incidents referred to by Police Scotland in their letter of review, because there are a number of points which Mr. Hansen wishes to take issue with, if I can put it that way. Now, the whole saga really starts, as we know, in October of last year, just a little more than a year ago. The first incident is narrated Friday 20th of October, and it's clear when you look at the first three incidents narrated, they occur over the course of effectively a couple of days. So it's clearly been a difficult weekend, shall we say. These incidents ultimately culminated in an intervention being held with Police Scotland, which is reflected in the police letters. And I think it's worth pointing out that to assist and to cooperate in the investigations into the matters, the licence holders provided all the CCTV footage required by the police, either on the evening of the incidents or the following day. At the intervention, a police constable was present, the LSO was present along with Mr. and Mrs. Hansen, and they were presented with a licensing intervention plan specifically covering the three incidents on the 20th and 21st of October. The intervention plan had not been notified in advance, and the applicants had not an opportunity to review it prior to the meeting, but they agreed with it and signed it, albeit the constable who was present agreed that he would add notes to reflect some of the information brought forward by Mr. and Mrs. Hansen in respect of their view of things, and also as a result of the CCTV footage which had been viewed. So all of that was done. Subsequently, there was intimation given to Mr. and Mrs. Hansen that they had fulfilled the requirements of the intervention plan, and that matter was no longer active. Now, in terms of the incidents themselves, if I can start with the one at 01:20 hours on the 20th of October, it's the first one narrated by the police. On looking at the CCTV, what can be seen, I'm advised, is that a person can be seen in camera walking across Chapel Street. They enter the Cala bar and they walk up to the bar. The individual in question appears sober. He orders a pint of Tennent's and chats to some people who are standing around at the bar with him. He drinks half his pint and he then moves his way through to bar 57, which, as we've heard, is the other part of the premises. He goes there, orders a pint of Italian beer. He takes 3 sips out of that pint and then leaves the pint in the counter and moves to the empty dance floor, where he is seen standing looking at a couple of other males who are drinking at the bar. The 2 males leave the bar to go to the toilet, and he then follows them to the toilet area, where there is already another male in the toilet. The 2 males leave shortly after, followed by the male that was already in the toilet. Shortly thereafter, the male from the dance floor comes out of the toilet towards the front door. When he's there, he speaks to the door staff and they immediately check the toilets and the bar, while the male is on the phone to the police. The door staff come back to the injured male to see how he is. They ask for more information, and he is still on the phone to the police at this time. The door staff continue searching the bar to look for the person whose description has been given to them by the injured male. Now, the reason I make these points is that, first of all, in the police letter, they talk about the injured male being highly intoxicated. That is not what the CCTV reflects. He walked normally across the road to the premises. He's had a conversation with several people in the bar. He moves normally throughout the premises, and whilst in the premises, he consumes half a pint of alcohol and 3 sips out of another drink. The police also say that he had spoken directly to a staff member at the time of the assault. Again, that is, with respect, not correct. He did not speak directly to a staff member at the time of the assault. What happened was that a staff member overheard a conversation between 2 people at the end of the night and told a colleague. The colleague then relayed that information to Mr. Hansen, who contacted the police and provided that information. And I believe the staff member in question was later interviewed by the police. There's also a suggestion that the CCTV couldn't be operated by the staff. The police were told at the time that the system had a 40-minute delay and recorded footage was not available immediately. Also, it was pointed out there was no CCTV camera inside the toilet. And in fairness, I don't think anyone would expect there to be one. It wasn't the case that no one could use it. The following morning, Mr. Hansen met with the police to look through the CCTV and provided them with all the additional information from the staff. There's a further allegation that staff failed to report the incident to the police. Well, as I've said earlier, the fact of the matter is that the man who was the victim was on the phone to the police as soon as he got to the front door. That can be seen on camera. The door staff, as I say, went to check the toilets and so on and so forth. It was not necessary for the staff to contact the police because they knew the police had already been contacted by the male in question and would be in attendance in due course. Further to that, there's also the allegation that the staff failed in their duty of care to the victim. Now, the timeline here is significant because it's clear from CCTV that the individual entered the toilet at 01:05 in the morning. 16 seconds thereafter, the 2 males exit the toilet. 36 seconds thereafter, another male leaves the toilet. And then a 4th male leaves the toilet 24 seconds later. The injured male comes to the front door at 1:07, so we're now less than 2 minutes after him going in, speaks to the door staff and calls the police. Now thereafter, there's a succession of time frames about staff checking toilets, checking the victim, and so on and so forth. The police arrive at 1:24:28. So all of this happens in a very, very short space of time. Thereafter, the injured male is moved to a more comfortable location just before the police arrive. And by 3 o'clock in the morning, roughly speaking, the ambulance arrives and the person in question is taken away. So the actual incident itself, leaving aside awaiting the arrival of the ambulance and so on, really takes a matter of minutes, and during which time the police have been notified and the staff have been extremely attentive to the individual in question. The second incident that the police refer to, 23:10 hours on the 21st, when the officers on patrol flagged down by security staff. Situation here is that 5 to 11, and again this is picked up as I understand it from the CCTV, at 5 to 11 an older male walks up behind a young female who's talking to a group of friends. He touches her on her bottom and she can be seen flinching and the male moves away. The friends of the young lady in question contact the head doorman as he happens to come into the bar and they explain the situation. The head doorman walks over to the man, who by this time is now sitting in a booth. He asks him to come out to the hallway with him. The male stands up, immediately grabs the head doorman around the upper body, trying to twist him onto the ground. The head doorman manages himself to turn the attack around, if I can put it that way, and manages to get the male onto the floor, where he holds him in place and calls for him back up from other staff using the radio. Another steward arrives and they take the mail out through the hallway in the premises. The mail is then laid on the ground outside. At this time, they're not aware of any injuries to him. They correct his clothing, give him back his wallet and mobile phone, which has fallen on the ground, and flag down the patrol car, which is coming up the road. And the staff explained the situation to the officers concerned. By this time, the male sitting on the ground next to the bar entrance. The police were informed that he was complaining about his foot, but the staff had checked it and couldn't at that stage see anything wrong. There was no blood in the bar, in the hallway, or outside on the ground. Now, again, in terms of the operator's position here and the inconsistencies or the difference of opinion in terms of the police narrative, first of all, the male was removed from the premises because he sexually assaulted another customer, not because he was intoxicated. He was physically removed from the premises also because he decided to assault the head doorman instead of just leaving the premises as had been requested by the steward. It's then suggested that the heavily intoxicated male, as it's put, fell over in the street outside. The staff at the time all the staff were interviewed by Mr. Hansen, including the head steward. No one has any idea where the suggestion that he had fallen outside came from. Clearly, he had not fallen outside as he was sitting outside on the ground the whole time. The suspicion is, on reviewing of the footage, that it looked like the male has probably injured his leg when he landed on the floor after attacking the head steward. He goes on to talk about the concerns with regards to the integrity of the door staff. The head steward had asked the male to come outside after being informed of the sexual assault. He did not act aggressively or put his hands on the male. He was standing waiting for the male to get up from his seat so he could walk him out. I've explained the circumstances about the male then attacking the head steward and the attack being turned back on him, as it were, by pinning him to the ground. He's not doing anything aggressive other than holding him in place, awaiting backup from his colleagues to take the male out of the bar and into the hallway. Then we have the third incident on the 21st of October, where it's 02:30 hours. This actually happened on the street outside the premises. They were not customers of either of the premises named in the review application. The police, excuse me, police were contacted, but there's a limit to what members of staff can do. They were not in the premises. They were not customers of the staff. It happened to be outside the premises that this incident took place. So again, it's difficult to see where the fault lies with the operators in that particular instance. Incident on the 15th of December, again, the allegation is a male was asked to leave the premises due to being highly intoxicated, being escorted out, etc. There was an argument inside the premises, no physical violence, no intoxication of any moment involved. He was removed from the premises, and as he left, an assault occurred further down after both the males involved had run off. The removal was noted in the incident book by staff, but again, there had been no incident as such in the premises other than a minor argument, effectively. 23rd of December, the incident took place very suddenly in front of security, ironically, and both males were removed. There were no injuries apparent at the time. Neither of the males involved wanted to make a complaint, and they both left immediately. The incident was noted in the incident book by staff and is there on record. Incident on the 16th of March. Again, in this particular incident, the staff were aware that a male was on the phone to the police whilst they were dealing with the situation. It had been an incident involving two groups of people outside in the garden area, and that's the furthest point away from the front door of the premises. All available door staff attended. It was handled efficiently, without serious injury, and the police attended. Again, it was known to the staff that the male had already contacted the police, and again there was no requirement for a second call to be made. The police arrived and dealt with the incident. The next incident, the 20th of May, is a horrible incident. involving the striking with a glass. Mr. Hansen has never experienced an incident like this in his premises in his entire career in the licence trade. It was a sudden attack that could not have been foreseen. And as I say, in 22 years of ownership, roughly speaking, they are horrified that this incident took place. They've never experienced anything like it before or thankfully since. The victim is actually a regular patron of the premises. He still attends the premises. He's back. He feels safe in the premises, and he entirely puts the blame on the person who assaulted him. I think it's significant to note, Your Honours, and in fairness to Police Scotland, they make it very clear in their report that the staff, including Mr. Hansen, were very helpful, were very cooperative, and dealt with the situation as best they could in the circumstances. But nonetheless, it was a horrible incident, but one which could not have been foreseen or prevented. We then move to the incident on the 2nd of June, where there is again an allegation of the person being extremely intoxicated, pushes someone, the person moves away, etc., to remove himself from the situation. Now, again, on reviewing the CCTV footage with the police, it was clearly seen, and it is clearly seen, that these males were standing together, talking normally to each other. They were all in the one group. One suddenly pushes the other, and they move to the front of the bar. The rest of the group carry on talking. Bar staff alert the door staff that there's a possible situation brewing here, and so the people involved were ejected. No one was hit inside the premises. No one left the premises with any obvious injuries, and it's the understanding of Mr. Hansen that the incident actually, the ultimate incident which resulted in injury, actually happened subsequently at a different venue, and as such, therefore, there was nothing to report as far as the operators of the current premises were concerned. The shove, if I can put it that way, was noted in the incident book, but the CCTV shows everything that I've explained to you here at the moment. Sunday, the 2nd of June, this was a jealous boyfriend situation. The girl who was there hugs her former boyfriend, and it would appear that her current boyfriend takes umbrage at the situation. During which the young lady in question herself is struck in the crossfire, so to speak. The incident wasn't witnessed by the staff. Both males had left the premises immediately. The girl didn't want to make a complaint at all. Obviously, it was a kind of complicated domestic sort of situation. At that time, she insisted it was an accident, that her boyfriend had just, been too jealous, had flown off the handle. She didn't appear to be injured. And she left at closing time, having stayed there till the end of the evening. And then we come to the 2nd of June. Again, there was an argument taking place outside. There was a male who was accused of touching a female. The female was not there. She'd gone home. No one was able to provide her name, but as they were causing a disturbance and things were starting to get noisy and aggressive, staff contacted a police car which was outside and asked if they could help move them on. It wasn't obvious to anyone at any point that there had been any breakage of noses or anything else at the time. Now, I'm going to skip over the 3rd of June. We've heard very fairly from Sergeant Grant that matter is now sub judice, and really we shouldn't be talking about it at this stage. The only thing I would want to put in record is that, as currently advised, Mr. Hansen will be pleading not guilty to any charges should that end up in a formal prosecution, as it were. There are one or two, as we've heard, sort of add-ons which the police have referred to. There's the incident on the 16th, I beg your pardon, sorry, on the 18th of July, officers attending having received a report of an assault. There is no indication that there has been any assault. It would appear, or the belief is that the person involved had slipped and any injury was caused as a result of the slip. There's then the incident on the 10th of August when the police are contacted by this premises door stewards seeking assistance for a male who's refusing to leave. Again, staff have acted properly. They've contacted the police, and he is taken into custody with whatever will follow from that. We will see. And finally, there is the final allegation about the early morning provision of alcohol. Now, let me make it absolutely clear. If that is the case, then the staff member involved, there will be very serious repercussions for that person if this in fact has happened. This has come to Mr. Hanson's attention only fairly recently, so investigations are being made to see what the situation with that is. But clearly, if that has happened as has been narrated, then that is not acceptable. It's as simple as that. And Mr. Hanson will take the appropriate steps in that regard. Now, that is the operator's position in relation to all these incidents, Your Honours, but I think it would be remiss of me to simply leave matters at that. As Your Honours are only too well aware, and your clerk, I'm sure, will confirm the situation to you, in terms of the legal position with review hearings, they are not there to, how can I put it, punish, for want of a better term, past indiscretions, either by actual actions or lack of action, as the case may be. They're there to try and ensure that where as far as possible one can prevent incidents recurring, that steps are taken as a result of the information brought forward to try and ensure that that this sort of situation will not recur. Now, Mr. Hanson has already and continues to put in a lot of changes to the operation of the premises, which I'll narrate to you in a moment. I think it's very fair of Sergeant Grant to say in his final remarks, really, that there has been a number of occasions where staff and the owners have been extremely helpful. But there are other occasions when Sergeant Grant is saying that there's been a lesser response as he would have it. So what have they done since all of this blew up? Well, in no particular order. First of all, the CCTV system, which has been talked about. In fairness, there is a reference in the police report to it being upgraded at one point. That has happened. There's a new CCTV system installed in the premises. They now have, I believe it's up to 32 cameras covering the premises, which is a major improvement on what was there before. When, in addition to that, they are moving to introduce body cameras to be worn by the stewards, or at least some of the stewards. That is something which they're in the process of sorting out at the present time. They have increased the number of door staff significantly. Normally it's 5 on a Saturday, 4 on a Friday, and up to 3 on a Thursday. The CCTV system, which I referred to, is viewed constantly at the busy weekend period, either by Mr. Hanson or one of his management staff. And that is done proactively so that they can monitor things like, is there any indication of intoxication? Are there incidents starting to brew up that could be nipped in the bud? So that is done rigorously. They have now 4 members of staff who hold personal licenses, in addition to Mr. Hanson himself. They have 7 people who have been trained in first aid. They have introduced more regular meetings to discuss any issues which have arisen, to see if there's anything which could be improved, to make sure that the integration of the CCTV system is working. And these include end of shift debriefs to discuss anything which happened during the course of the evening. And all of these meetings include both management of the premises and their security staff. The other point, which is, I think it's only right that I make the point, is that Mrs. Hanson has taken the conscious decision to step back from the operation of the premises. She has she really doesn't want to be involved in the operation of the premises any longer and wishes to step back from that. And I think that goes really to a comment made by, I think it was the LSO, if I remember correctly, regarding some intransigence, shall we say, allegedly on her part. So she has stepped back as well. There's been a whole raft of improvements made, which hopefully will see a great improvement in the general running of the premises, which should be welcomed, I'm sure, by all concerned. The one other point which I have suggested to Mr. Hanson, and which he's indicated he's content and happy to do, is that he should maintain proactively regular contact with the licensing section at Police Scotland to ensure at the start of every week that he contacts them just to make clear that there have been no problems over the course of the preceding weekend that he is unaware of. And equally, he's mindful of the fact that reporting incidents to the police is what one, of course, should be doing. I think in fairness to Mr. Hanson and his staff, where incidents have taken place of which they've acknowledged, they have reported it, or in the incidents where they have not personally reported it, they've been aware that the incident has been reported. They're also very mindful of the fact that there's a great strain on policing in the area, a vast reduction in officer numbers, which we read about constantly in the paper, which doesn't make life easier for anyone, be they operators or police officers themselves. Finally, you'll be glad to hear, there's been a couple of suggestions made by Police Scotland in their review letter. One is the question of the restriction on operating hours. Now, it was good of Sergeant Grant to make clear that he's not in the business of shutting places down, and I don't doubt that for a second. But the harsh reality of life is that, as I said to you earlier, 60% of the turnover and the income of these premises comes from the post-1 AM trading period. If that were to be lost, if you were to follow the suggestion of Police Scotland, then the viability of these premises would at best be called into question. It's unlikely, I would suggest to you, that they would actually survive based on the reduction of income which would automatically follow, which would be a great shame for a whole variety of reasons, but in particular it would be a great shame because for 20 plus years the Hansons have operated the premises there successfully, satisfactorily, increased the quality of the offer from what was there when they first came on the scene. And I always suggest, with respect to boards when they're considering these kind of situations, that if you think of it like scales, on one side there's the debit side where there's criticism, and on the plus side there's the credits, if you will, where things have been done well. And you've got effectively, up until now, 22 years of pretty much unblemished trading, reflected in the fact that there have been no previous review hearings, reflected in the fact that, as per the LSO report, in the numerous instances that they visit, or he visits, and his colleagues visit, everything has been in order. When you balance all these things on the scales, and taking account of the submissions made in support of Mr. Hanson's operation and in respect of the differences of opinion in respect of the incidents narrated, I would suggest to you that the scales come down very firmly on the plus side for the operators of these premises. They are good people who have invested a lot in this area. They employ over 30 folks in addition to their own personal interest in the premises. So they are, substantial employers. And if the premises were to be shut, then clearly one can only speculate as to the impact that would have on a number of families in the Peterhead area. So all in all, Your Honours, I would ask you to take on board all that I have said, as I'm sure you will. I would point out, of course, that we haven't had the benefit of the CCTV being viewed today. The police have been given all the CCTV that can be given, but it's not been brought forward. So we're relying on narrative from both sides here, really, I suppose. But when you weigh everything up in the round, if you find that the police letter, the grounds for your review have been established as a result of the police letter, then my invitation to you would be that you do no more than issue a warning if you felt that was appropriate in the circumstances. I should also have said that the police did raise the question of glass in the premises. The vast bulk of it's difficult to use the term glassware when we're not really talking about glass, but the vast number of receptacles in which the alcohol is served these days are more of the polycarbonate type nature, and they're moving as best they can to try to ensure that is brought right across the operation of the premises as best they can. So thank you for listening. I apologise to you for taking up quite so much of your time, but it's very, very important, as you will appreciate, for the Hansons that their side of the story is given as fully as possible. Between myself and Mr. Hanson, we'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McKeever, and don't apologise for the time taken. I think there was a lot of information to share, and members will appreciate that. So I could go back now to Kevin MacDonald, the LSO. Have you got anything you wish to add, having heard the submissions from the licence holder's agent?
Hello again, board. Yes, a couple of points. Mr. McIver has confirmed in his description a number of the incidents that he went through. Incident Friday 20th October 2023, he confirmed the use of the description highly intoxicated. Again, the incident on Saturday 21st of October 2023, he again confirmed the description provided by the police as heavily intoxicated male. That was in relation to a sexual assault that was reported. Again, Mr. McIver's referred to Friday 15th of December as one of the patrons being highly intoxicated. And the incident on the 16th of March, very intoxicated. Sunday 2nd of June, extremely intoxicated. As a licensing standards officer, very concerning that, first of all, Mr. McIver's accepting that description of patrons within the premises. It's a condition that the premises manager has to ensure people aren't highly intoxicated or heavily intoxicated, and for Mr. McIver to accept these on behalf of his being the agent on behalf of Mr. Henning. Just highlight that section 113 of the Licensing Act, it's an offence for any responsible person on a relevant premises to sell alcohol to a drunken person. Is Mr. McIver suggesting that his client is serving heavily intoxicated persons?
With your permission, could I respond to that, Your Honour?
No, not at the moment. We'll come back to you. Okay.
No problem, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I'll now go to Sergeant Grant, please. If you've got anything you wish to add, having heard the submission of the licence holder's agent.
Yeah, obviously there's a contradiction in opinions and interpretation on incidents, which I understand, but I would like to highlight that the information I have provided with you today has come from the officers attending. They have spoken to these individuals, they have formed their opinions about intoxication, and it's their honest views and interpretation of the incident that I have passed on to you today. Though I understand that the other side will have their opinions as well. This is the first review in my tenure in this position that we've submitted across all three of the boards that we have responsibility for. I don't like going to review. This would have been my decision to go to review was, do I do another intervention or do I go to review? That would have been the third intervention within 2 years that we've undertaken with this premises. And as I said previously, they have taken positive action in the past, but it always seems to slip back a bit. And this year, certainly 23 into this year, it was the point where, do I go for another intervention? How many interventions can we take before we bring the matter to yourselves? And I think I've tried to be fair throughout this process, and I think a review in this circumstances was the fair thing to do. I understand there is a high footfall of customers within the premises, it being one of the few premises in the Peterhead that stays open late. I get that. However, it is the premises that has been highlighted in Aberdeenshire for me for quite a while. I can't see any difference between the people of Peterhead to any other population base in Aberdeenshire. And the premises either is unlucky in that it's attracting a lot of incidents, or it just isn't being proactive enough in preventing these incidents. Yes, they'll be unlucky. There'll be times when people come in and there's only minutes, and yeah, if they can't respond to, well, it would be unreasonable to expect someone to respond to those things. However, there is evidence that from police officers that there is intoxication, excessive intoxication on the premises at times, that is leading to people being injured, assaulted, being sexually assaulted. And I think measures do have to be taken in order to uphold the licensing objectives. As I say, I'm not looking for the premises to be shut, but I think measures should be taken in order to uphold public safety. Again, this is not a punishment. I am not looking to punish anybody. I'm just looking for people to be safe within that premises and for the number of incidents to be reduced, if not anything else, but to reduce the burden on my organisation, who have to come up and pick up the pieces and deal with these things. And it's time consuming. One less serious assault is extra time to deal with other matters. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So now it's over to board members. If you have any questions for any of the parties. Mr. Crowson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Not quite so much questions as I did have listed down once we heard about the possibility of body cameras on the door staff and that. I think all that suggestions would be pretty good to move forward with. Are the door staff employed directly by the licence holders, or are they through an organisation?
Is that a question for Mr. McKeever?
Whoever would like to answer.
Yeah. Mr. McKeever probably, or Mr. Hanson?
Thank you, Ross. My understanding, but I'd probably prefer if Mr. Hanson answered that. My understanding is they're agency supply, but I may be wrong, so it'd be probably better if you took it from the horse's mouth, Your Honour, just to be clear.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hanson, are you able to answer?
Yes, they are employed through a local agency.
Okay, so if I could just also ask then, would you be able to put pressure on them to supply staff that bore body cameras? Is that going to be realistic?
I will organise the body cams myself and make sure that's in order. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. And has any of the perpetrators been barred from the premises, and are you part of a pub watch scheme at all?
Well, we no longer have a pub watch scheme in Peterhead, unfortunately, and it sort of broke down quite a few years ago. We communicate directly with some of the other premises to keep up to date on issues with people. But it is challenging at the moment. We are there's one other late night venue in Peterhead, but they are not regularly open. So they're open sometimes and not other times. So we do face the situation that whilst maybe before we had somewhere else where people could go where we didn't want, or the people we didn't want, they now kind of turn up at our door. So we have a ban list, and a very clear ban list of who's not allowed in. Anyone who's been involved in any of these incidents will be banned. So, and we have the same door staff all the time, so we know exactly who they are.
Okay, thank you. And if I could also ask Mr. Hansen, is there a shut-off time that you have for getting into the nightclub?
So it depends on how we are in relation to capacity. So we have our capacity is 209, and we are normally, if we reach about 180, we normally start queuing at the door just to make sure that we have a reasonable flow inside. So there's not a cut-off time. I mean, we wouldn't let anybody else in after about 2:45, if that's when we're closing, or 1:45.
Yes, it's just I'm aware of other premises that do have a cut-off time, and it's sort of, I think it's beneficial for them that actually customers who want to come to the club will leave other venues earlier to make sure that they get to your club, and then you have sort of a more control over who has been drinking in your premises and how much they're drinking in the later stages of the day. I think that's maybe something that's worth considering. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. But at the moment, it's currently about 1:45 would be a point where you really wouldn't be getting in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And if I could also ask Sergeant Grant, you say sometimes the things seem to be slipping back and there seems to be more incidents comes back on the go again. I'm just wondering, could that have any relation to with maybe there's just more incidents in general with people's behaviour that seems to be more incidents, not just necessarily in pubs, but even on the streets and that, we seem to be having more incidents of inappropriate behaviours of all types.
Actually, the number of incidents in licensed premises across what is Grampian has reduced greatly over the last wee while. I think that's more to do with economics than anything else. People, less money going into pubs and drinking less. So, although you may think things are getting worse, in terms of disorder and violence within the licensed trade, it's actually getting better, just due to the lack of customers, I believe.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't thinking in the wrong direction. Okay, thank you. That's me, Chair.
Thank you. Ms Sullivan, please.
Morning. I have two questions. One is more to clear up some confusion with me reading the papers and hearing people. It's been written in the papers that Carl and Robin Hansen are the co-owners, that Robin Hansen is a manager, an owner, also that Carl is the sole director. There's been references to a Mrs., which I suppose could be Robin. There's been no gender attached to Robin, which is a either or name. And Mr. Hansen has been charged. Could you please clear up who's the I assume Robin Hansen is a Mrs.?
Yes, so Robin is my wife. Oh,
Right.
sorry, is that for me to answer? Yeah.
Anybody who knows.
Robin is my wife. We're married. We have 4 children, and we bought the property or the business together in 2002. And we worked together initially a bit, and then we started having children, and my wife left. And then she came back to work probably a couple of years ago when we started upgrading things. I wasn't feeling very well. I had quite a lot of high blood pressure and everything, so she was stepping in and helping me out. So she is a co-owner, but she's not the manager, but she's a co-owner. I am also the owner, but I'm also the director, and I am the premises license holder, which is why I would be the person you were referring to.
Right. So the mention on the 2nd of June incident of Robin being the manager, that would be incorrect, or was it correct at that time?
That's incorrect.
Incorrect.
She's
Okay.
the owner, yeah.
Right. Thank you. My second question is to, I'm looking on the screen. Neil, please. I've tallied up all the incidents that you've written down, apart from the morning one, because that wasn't in the documents. The majority of these incidents have occurred at or before 1 a.m. So what is the rationale for reducing the opening hours to 1 a.m., given that the majority of incidents would still have taken place? Thank you.
Do you want to try answering that, Sergeant Grant?
The incidents are still late night incidents. Yes, they've all happened on or around 1 o'clock. But as I said before, there are certainly statistical evidence to suggest that the longer a premises stays open, the more likely there's higher intoxication and there is more chance of violence. Now, I appreciate that the incidents I've mentioned don't fall between the 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock category. However, that is circumstances. I'm happily pull it back to midnight if that's what the board would consider. But I think, as I say, there's significant evidence of violence within the premises and intoxication. And although they've happened at 1 o'clock, I think that's just circumstances. They could easily have happened between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay with you, Miss Sullivan? That's a difficult one to answer.
It is a bit. It's just there's only one incident that's happened before midnight, and like I say, more than half are before 1 a.m. But okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Goodall, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions, some for Mr. Al-Hassan and others for Sergeant Grant. Mr. Hassan, or Hanson? It says Carl on the screen, I get confused.
Hanson.
Hanson, yeah.
Your guys on the door, do they perform a vetting procedure to ensure that your prospective customers aren't already drunk?
Well, anyone's checked really visually when they approach the premises. I mean, we've been doing this for 22 years. I've had, of course, lots of different sets of door staff, but at the moment, I think our door staff have a combined experience of about 22 years of working on the doors. There's a limited amount of what you can do. Fortunately, we're in a location where people have to approach the premises if they come from any direction in Chapel Street, etc. So you can see them coming along. Everyone's seen and spoken to at the door. Obviously, we check IDs for anyone who's look younger. So I think we do exactly the same as most other places would do. You see them. Obviously, we have a lot of people coming in. We could have 500-600 people through the door on a Saturday night. So we have to be able to, you don't have a lot of time with each one, but we check them and see them just like any other place would. And obviously we wouldn't let anyone in who's clearly has had too much to drink. That would be no benefit to our business whatsoever.
Leading on, secondary question on the same theme. What vetting does your staff have when they're actually selling drink? At what stage do they say no more, and how can you show that you have removed customers or stopped customers from consuming too much alcohol?
Well, I've actually started doing something new, which we started as soon as we've got our new CCTV system in, which is pretty amazing. We've got a huge screen where we can see all the cameras. And whilst in the past, I have just, we've tried to react to situations as they're happening, I'm currently sitting every Friday, Saturday, watching the cameras live. And I currently have someone who I'm training as well. And we can see all areas of the business, fire exits, the garden, the bar, everywhere. And we're able to detect if anyone is behaving in a way that would indicate that maybe it's time to go, or maybe their behavior isn't quite right. And in fact, the last incident that Sergeant Grant was referring to, which was in August when they arrested an individual, that was on the basis of me watching the cameras. And I was watching this individual. We have a capacity of 59 people in the garden, and we had about 40 people out there. It was really quite busy. And one person stood out. He was moving around and getting too close to people, getting into their personal space. You can see if someone is approaching too much, especially with a couple of females. And I called the door staff and I said, look, let's go in and see what's happening with this person. And they went in the garden. There was 2 of them first and then 4. And you could see this individual a situation was going to happen. So I said, look, we need to take him out. And that's what we did. So we took him out, placed him outside, called the police. The police turned up and he was being difficult with them. He was difficult with us going out. No one was hit or anything like that. He was just placed out. He was difficult with the police. He was clearly arrested, but that was a situation where we acted in advance of something happening. So yes, we did create a bit of a situation with him going out, but that was better than something happening inside. And when I watch the cameras, I can see if someone is moving uneasily, or if someone is not behaving the way you would see from a normal person. And I can see the whole, obviously I can't see in the toilets, but I can see the hallways. I can see all the bars, the fire exits, the staff behind the bar. So I then have radio, so I'll message the door staff, or I'll take a picture of the screen and I'll message the door staff and I'll say, can you check on this person? And they'll go in, check on them, or take them out, or I'll even come downstairs and speak to someone just to see if I think that I'm happy for them to be in. So that is a huge difference from what we've done in all the other years before. And I actually think it's also making a difference because the customers are noticing. Because if someone's walking off in an area they shouldn't be, someone's there picking up on it. Or if someone's maybe not feeling 100%, I can send the staff in. There was a girl the other weekend and she didn't look quite right. So I asked the door staff to go in and they took her out, and there was actually something wrong with her shoe. But she was flipping over on her shoe and I thought she was maybe unbalanced. But when I went out and spoke to her, she was fine. And I let her back in again. So I think that's made a massive difference. So, and of course, the staff are going to be very, very busy. It's busy behind the bar. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 deep by the bar, while people are waiting to get served. It's not always easy to see, but we do train our staff to make the best judgment. And that's what you can do. And I mean, we've been doing this for 22 years. I know that Sergeant Grant has mentioned several interventions. Well, I have never had any other interventions than the one that came in October, as far as I know, unless my memory is doing this for 22 years. I don't know why I would suddenly start doing things differently or more poorly. So I think we're working and doing the best we can. We don't get it right all the time, but that's our biggest tool at the moment, is being able to watch the cameras and really see what's happening, kind of like from above.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Can I? Sorry, I've got a couple of questions for Sergeant Grant.
Okay, can we all try and be brief, because I think there are quite a lot of hands up.
Okay. Is there a possibility, Sergeant Grant, that this, given that this premises has been open for 22 years, that this could be a statistical cluster? Statistical cluster is where, out of the blue, like in a road, a particular road could have 10 accidents within 2 weeks and then nothing for 20 years.
Yeah, but that road's probably got an issue that's caused those 10 accidents, and it's just been lucky for those previous 10 years that nothing's happened, potentially. But I don't think the road and the premises are probably a good example to compare against each other. Staff change, there's variables, training will differ, other door staff will come in. So I would say no. I would go against that hypothesis.
If we take on your recommendation and reduce the hours of these premises in order to attain our licensing objectives, will we be moving the problem elsewhere? In other words, if there's only one other premise that's open, will that then become more unmanageable? Particularly given the situation in Peterhead, where there seems to be a social issue with over drinking, over indulging.
See the point you're making, but not necessarily. If that other premises is adequately trained and deals with things appropriately, as a decent door staff, early intervention when problems arise, not over-serving, basically making sure that patrons know what behaviour is acceptable and not acceptable, reporting every incident to police. If they deal with all those things as expected by every other premises within Aberdeenshire, then it wouldn't be necessary that the problem will be moved elsewhere. I understand that the particular issues with the town, but I don't think they're any worse than some other areas of Aberdeenshire. And I think it's just keeping a handle of it. Good management is the key, and people tend to behave more when they see that standards are being upheld by staff.
One last question, if you don't mind, Chair. Over-serving, is there evidence that these premises are over-serving and that their vetting procedures at the door are insufficient?
The evidence is provided by the officers who dealt with the incidents mentioned in the report. There's certainly no one's been charged or CCTV with regards to serving people over the bar, but as a result of being within the premises, or certainly having been in the premises and speaking to officers are noticing that they are heavily intoxicated. But there are no reports going to fiscal in relation to that. But yeah, the evidence would be the observations made by officers at the time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mason, please.
Yes, Mr. Hanson touched on this earlier on about the training that you give. I'm just wondering if it's adequate. is there any more training we could do, which I probably need to address the LSO on that. How it's not just the doorman that needs to be aware of drunken people and people who are causing problems. It's the whole staff, the bar staff who can refuse someone to sell someone who is drunk any alcohol. So you probably think that you sound as though you do concentrate on training, but can I ask the LSO, is there any more training we could do to support this?
I would suggest that the staff who are working there will have had their necessary bar training to be able to
Yeah,
sell
but is it
alcohol.
adequate? That's what I'm trying to get at. Is it adequate?
Mr. MacDonald?
I can't comment on the training that Carol provides to the staff. There is a minimum requirement of 2 hours to each member of staff. It's signed off, and I've confirmed that has been done. I mean, we can make recommendations in regularly revising that training, going over it again. There are a number of other things, but again, that's the responsibility of the premises owner or the license holder.
Yeah, it's just that drunken people can be very intimidating at times. So, which we'll probably all recognise that. Right, thank you.
It was mentioned as well that 4 staff have a personal licence and 7 members of staff are trained in first aid in addition to their licensing training. Harriet, do you want to come in before I go to the next?
Yes, I would just like, if I could just take this opportunity to just remind members that there are mandatory conditions that are attached to the licence. These do cover areas such as training. There's also local conditions that cover training. So just to make that aware when the members are making their decision.
Yeah. Thank you, Harriet.
Did you want me to answer the question on the training, or?
If you've anything to add, Mr. Hanson, yes.
Yeah, so we do everyone has a 2-hour training, which is clearly shown by the fact that the LSO has been passed and there's never been an issue with any training records. It's always been, I have always been the license holder and often been the only license holder, but we are now 4 additional license holders in addition to myself. And I put quite a lot of the staff through because I thought it would be helpful, and not just for the business, but also for myself to give a bit of additional support. And we did also go through the training again after we saw the LSO and the police last time, as was suggested, just to be doubly sure. So we put them through the 2-hour training again. And it's a good training setup that we have, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to bring in Harriet. She wants to come in at this point before I go to any more questions.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify when Mr. Hanson is stating licence holder, I believe, Mr. Hanson, you're referring to personal licence holders within the premises. The licence holder for this licence is Clara House PhD Limited, and Mr. Hanson is the designated premises manager. He's the day-to-day manager of overseeing the licensable activity. You can also have additional personal licence holders within the premises that can also sell alcohol, just to be clear on that terminology.
That's right. So now we have 5 personal license holders. That's what I meant. Sorry, my apologies.
Okay, thank you. Just before, we've got Mrs. Nichol and then Mr. Crowson. Members, we would normally have had a comfort break by now. So I'm going to take those last 2 questions and then we'll have a short break before we go to Mr. McKeever again. So Mrs. Nichol, please.
Thank you, Chair. My question's a quick one, as I wanted to ask about training as well. I just wondered, as part of their 2-hour training, there is guidance on common refusal approaches, including refusing intoxicated customers, avoiding conflict, early intervention, and keeping incident reports. And I just wondered if that's being included in your training at the moment, Mr. Hanson, and if those approaches are provided to staff. Thank you.
It is included, but I think it's important to be mindful that of these 10 incidents, obviously, there are many incidents where we make decisions that don't turn into the wrong outcome. You know, like Mr. McIver said, we had over 55,000 customers or customer interactions just in 7 months in that time period.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crowson, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of quick ones. Can I check, does the security cameras, any of them covering outside in the door or any part of the street?
Yes, I've got 2 cameras on the street.
Okay, thanks. And can I check with Sergeant Grant, which one are we not allowed to ask questions about? Is that the late lock-in or the early serving? Which incident for ask?
It's the lock-in.
Aye, the late lock-ins. So, and I'm trying to get through my notes here again. Was there some about selling alcohol before opening times?
Yes, there was.
Yes. So it's okay to ask about that, is it?
At the moment, it's not subject to any report.
Okay, if I could just ask Mr. Hanson about that, because obviously I can't see any benefit in a member of staff letting people in early. So that would ultimately boil down to yourself to make sure that the staff aren't opening doors and letting people in before time. Have you got any comments on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm personally a stickler for time, and this was only brought to my attention very recently. Now, the police have the CCTV. I don't have it, but I know that the timing was off on the footage, and I mentioned that to police. So I went back on the till system to have a look and see when the transactions were put through. And I could see that there was a pint of beer put through at 8:59:30, and there was a bottle of beer put through at 09:07. So if there was a mistake made, it would have been the barmaid opening and just being off by a few minutes by putting it on the bar counter while she was getting ready. And of course, if that is the case, then I take responsibility for that. But there is no, like you said, there's no motivation to do it. There is no I can see that maybe she wasn't paying attention. But like I said, I haven't seen it, so I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, thanks. And just finally, first of all, for the benefit of the chair after our break, I would be thinking I'd be requesting we go into private for this. So if I can just go back to Mr. Hanson on the point I made about restricting the time that you let people into the nightclub. Just would that be something that you would seriously consider as opposed to a reduction of hours if that's the way members was minded? And just to make a point that if someone gets barred from another nightclub, say at 1:30 because they've had too much to drink, they are automatically going to look at what place is still letting people in. And that maybe is where you're getting a lot of people turning up at 2:30, 2:45, have maybe already been refused drink from other premises. So
yeah, I think our main, I mean, we really get busy about 1:30, 2:00, and then right up until 3:00.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm interested in listening to any suggestions.
Okay, thank you. Right, at this point, I would suggest, well, it's 12:19. If we have a break till 12:30. Okay, because we've been going for more than 2 hours. We'd normally have had a break by now. So if everybody comes back at 12:30, if we just wait to have the live stream and the recording switched off, please.